Welcome everybody, and can introduce to Marco Avila, our President and CEO of the Chamber, the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marco Avila, and I'm the chairman of the board and president of the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the largest association of Hispanic-owned businesses in Maryland. As everybody knows, the last 12 months have been the most challenging in recent memory for Hispanics in the U.S. Gaps in unemployment, unequal access to technology, unequal access to opportunities have worsened, and the future remains challenging. However, these last 12 months have highlighted what we at the Maryland Hispanic Chamber have known all along. Your business needs an advocate and partner. We invite you to join us and participate in our organization and support our effort to promote Hispanic businesses through legislative efforts, training programs, and business advocacy. Small business come with many challenges, including the lack of representation, and that's where we can help. So learn more about what we can do for you. Reach out to us. You can use info@imdhcc.org. Send us a note. Let us know your questions. You can visit our website, mdhcc.org. And also help us reach our one big goal that we have for this year. We want to reach 1,000 members by December 2021. So let's reach that goal together. We're very excited today to share information about PPP, and we have a great presentation. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce our very own Ana Gonzales, a Senior Relations Manager at M&T and a board member of the Maryland Hispanic Chamber. Not only that, but M&T is one of our sponsors, and we're really lucky and proud to have Ana with us. And Ana eventually is going to introduce Roderick Johnson, who will be sharing important information about our latest PPP program. Ana, take it away, please.
Good morning, and thank you, Marco. It is an honor for me to be here. I'm so excited to provide information, to be a partner to the chamber, and just to give you that support, right? And we understand as a bank what you guys are going through, and we just want to sort of create a platform to help you, whether you bank with us or not. This is not about M&T. This is about the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, right? Here in Maryland. And we want to create that platform and support to help everyone in this call. And I hope you guys take advantage of this, because we're going to have many of those on different topics. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce my friend, my partner, Rod Johnson, who has been a tremendous support, not only for M&T, but also for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Rod, please take it away, and thank you for being here today.
All right, thank you. And go ahead and pull up the presentation. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Rod Johnson. I am with the U.S. Small Business Administration in Washington, D.C., where we cover Montgomery County, Prince George's County, all of Northern Virginia, and of course, Washington, D.C. Now, what I see, and my view may be different from most people, but what I see here in the DC metropolitan area is that so far, out of the $284 billion that was originally slotted for PPP, that our area here in the metropolitan area has already received $6 billion out of the $284 billion, okay? So I'm seeing greenbacks throughout the metropolitan area. So let me give you a breakdown. So for example, in the state of Maryland, there were almost 27,000 applications for $2.4 billion. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, there were 31,000 applications so far for $2.7 billion. And in the District of Columbia, there were 3,800 applications for actually $500 million. So there's money that's been put out on the streets already. Okay. Now, you may have already heard about the Biden plan, and yeah, you can stop it there at that slide. So you've already heard about the Biden plan. So there's going to be an additional $7 billion given to the PPP program. For those of you that own nightclubs like Blues Alley, the Ram's Head, and places like that, called the SVOG grant, right? Shuttered Venue Opportunity Grant. I think there's going to be something like $1 billion, $1.5 billion slated for that. Just hold on. Hopefully next week, we will have all the guidelines for that program. EIDL, the EIDL Advance is going to get another 15 to 20, I think it's $15 billion, okay? So that will allow companies to get up to a $10,000 grant. It's a grant. There's nothing to repay. So out of the Biden rescue plan, there is more money coming to assist small businesses. And so I'm happy about that because there's a lot of money out there to support your businesses. Hopefully all of you are taking advantage of your state, local, right, grants and loans. And then of course, I hope you guys are taking advantage of the PPP. So you've done PPP 1, you've applied for PPP 2, and you have applied for the EIDL loan. And then if you've applied for the EIDL loan, depending on where your business is located, there will be an EIDL grant. Even if you received an EIDL grant, and let's just say it was only $3,000, under the rules that were passed in December 27th, under the Economic Aid Act, okay, you will be entitled to now an additional $7,000, taking it up to $10,000, all right? So under the EIDL Advance, everyone should receive $10,000, all right? It's a grant. Now, you see this where it says, 92% of the current round have been to businesses with 20 employees or less. There's been an accommodation for the accommodation of food industry. There's been a special calculation for them. 99% of the loans have already been forgiven. There's been $200 billion through, via $3.7 million in the economic injury have been approved, and approximately 78% of the EIDLs are less than and accounts for 15% of the EIDL money. So let's go to the next slide. Move this over. Okay, now, I think most of you know the process. You find a lender if you don't already work with a lender. Here's the URL right here. Well, let me make it easy for you. It's sba.gov/PPP. That's where you'll find everything you need to know about PPP, okay? The forms, right? The 2483C, the 2483SD, which stands for second draw, the application, the 5,600-page IFR. I had to read through a lot of that to actually be able to give you this presentation. So the IFR, the actual act is out there, the IFR is out there, the frequently asked questions are out there. So if you don't remember anything else, remember sba.gov/PPP. Now, there is a lot of assistance because I know some of you are concerned about the application. You need assistance. Some of you are in a forgiveness phase for PPP 1.0, and you need assistance with that. Just know your local chambers, SCORE, your small business development centers, your women business centers, your veteran business opportunity centers. All of these resources are out there for you free, because I still get emails even a year later where people are paying $500 to $1,000 to get assistance to complete the forgiveness form or the application for PPP 1.0 and now PPP 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, there's free assistance out there for you. So please do not be paying money for people to assist you. All right. Okay. So you find a lender, you apply, you get assistance with the application if you need it. Then you'll send it to your bank. The bank will process it. Then the SBA will give the bank an SBA authorization number. And then they have 10 days to actually fund the loan for you. That lender has 10 days. Now, do not call me at the SBA and ask, where are we in the process of approving your loan? Because out of the district office, we do not process loans. We don't approve loans. All we are is a policy officer. We drive policy out of my office, primarily to the banks and to the resource partners, like I mentioned before, SCORE, the SBDCs, the Women Business Centers, and the Veteran Business Opportunity Centers, okay? So don't call the SBA asking, where's my loan in process? All right, next slide, please. So we're going to talk about the PPP and some of the changes, okay? Once we get to that next slide. Now, the biggest change is for the single member LLCs, right? There you go. So the biggest one was for the single member LLCs and for minorities. Now, if you haven't been keeping track, for a 2-week period from February 24th to March 9th, which was just this past Tuesday, it only allowed companies with 20 or less employees, including nonprofits, to actually get the PPP money. So it really fettered out the larger companies. For that 2-week period, for 14 days, it was exclusive to companies with 20 or fewer employees. And we had to scramble to try to get that done because there really wasn't any guidance as to what the new formula was going to be, right? Because there was going to be a new formula for single member LLCs, sole proprietorships, and 1099 contractors. So it took a while to get that up and running, but there were companies that were actually able to take advantage of the program. Now, Anna, do you know if you guys were actually able to process some of these loans once you got the formula? Do you know?
So we was lucky enough to sort of prepare ahead, and our formula worked just as nicely. The one that we prepared, we had already the 1099 there, right, or the W-3 there sort of assigned. And we just sort of opened up that form when we would start applying for customers. So we did a pretty nice job helping really small businesses with less than 20 employees.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Just so you all know that M&T for 10 out of the 11 past years has been the #1 SBA lender in the DMV. When companies come to me, particularly smaller companies, then actually I make referrals throughout the M&T franchise, depending on where the company is located. All right, so I'm a very big proponent of M&T, and M&T has been a very good partner with the SBA. All right, so let's go.
And Rod, just to emphasize what you're saying, I know there is some question on the chat that I submitted an application and no lender reached out to me. Your bank should be supporting you 100% on your PPP loan at no charge to you. This is your bank. If your bank is not supporting you, please reach out to me. It doesn't matter that you're not my customer. We'll start you up the process. This is ending soon, so we need to make sure we help as many people as we can, no matter whether they bank with us or not. This is why we're trying to do this event today.
All right, so let me say this. As Anna said that, if you have already started an application with another bank, and this is key, and you're not getting the support you need, cancel that application, all right? Because what we don't want to happen is, all right, you just pick up your ball and you go over to Anna, she puts in your application, and then you get kicked out of the system because the SBA E-Trans system will read your EIN number twice, okay? And it'll say that you've gotten another loan, PPP loan, from the first institution. So make sure that if you're frustrated and you're not getting the attention that you need at your current financial institution, that you actually cancel the first application before going over to Anna, so that there will be smooth sailing when M&T processes your application. That's very important for you guys to do, because I'm receiving a lot of phone calls of disgruntled borrowers. They're not getting any support from their bank. All right, and then they will leave and go to another bank. And then, quite frankly, the system is reading the other EIN, and it just causes a lot of issues. So let's just make sure that you cancel your application with the first institution, okay? All right.
So Rod, there's so many questions, great questions. So, first and foremost, M&T is closing its portal on March 15th. I want to make sure that you guys clear. So you have this whole weekend to get work on this, right? To apply. You should be able to call your lender and say, I want to cancel my application, right? Yeah, you cannot go back to the portal and cancel it yourself, but you could call the lender, and the lender have the ability to cancel that application for you. And again, as a bank, we made a decision to close our portal on March 15. I think, and I'm not going to speak for other banks, but the word is that we all enjoying the same thing together to make sure that we process all the applications that are still pending.
So here is, and I don't know if everybody's received this update, that the PPP has now been extended to June 30. June 30, the program has been extended, okay? As of actually formally 2 days ago. I think that news is beginning to trickle out to everyone. But if you didn't hear it, you've heard it here from the SBA. It is June 30 that the PPP has now been extended. And it only makes sense because there was only $100 billion, a little less than $100 billion left in the program. And now under the Rescue Act that Joe Biden will probably be signing tomorrow officially, there will be an additional $7 billion given to the PPP program. So it would have only made sense that you extend the deadline to give you, the business owner, the opportunity to apply for these funds, okay? So I've kind of preempted myself later on in the program. All right, next slide, please. So hopefully the next slide tells us the calculations, because that's what, okay. Well, we'll stay there for a minute. So there were some restrictions that were actually lifted. One was student loan debt. As you know, if you are delinquent, but primarily in default of a student loan, you could not get a PPP loan. It just got jammed up in the system, okay? You could not get a PPP loan. Well, that has been restricted, okay? Just for this program, just for this particular program, okay? And when this program is over, then the normal SOP goes back into place, where if you've defaulted on a federal government loan, you will not be able to take advantage of the SBA. But for this program, you can. Excuse me. Now, this change applies to new PPP applicants, as well as those who have already received a PPP loan. All right. Now, it's in red. This is the only retroactive change implemented in the IFR. Any other changes to the PPP program, it is not retroactive, okay? And you'll see what I mean later. Now, we're automatically removing the whole codes, okay, for this, because early on with PPP 2.0, before this restriction was eliminated, there was a hold code that when you applied, it would just stop your application. Now that's not the case. I've sent out the procedural notices actually to all the banks across the region that actually know how to remove this code in case the SBA hasn't automatically done it, okay? So this should not be an issue. Next slide, please.
And Rod, you amazing. I can actually share that with Maria and Marco and Giovanni, so we can actually post that on our website for the Chamber of Commerce, so you guys can actually understand. This is all public information. We just try to sort of relate the information to you a lot faster. There's another question there that can I be a men shop? Of course. The 1099 form, it's what you will need to sort of calculate your payroll. So absolutely you can be a men shop. And this is why we stopped taking application for larger corporation to give that opportunity to you. Those shops that only have 1 to 2 to 3 people employed.
Okay. Now we're going to get to the calculation because I think it's important, but let's talk about what's changed. Now, there's also under the regular SOP, standard operating procedure for the SBA to the lenders, there used to be if there was non-financial fraud, this was another one. It would automatically shut your application down. Okay. Well, that's been eliminated. And notice what I said for prior non-financial fraud, felony convictions. So when I did this presentation last Friday, someone raised their hand and they said, well, I got charged with wiretapping. Wiretapping is a financial fraud, okay? So it's for non-financial fraud felony convictions. Now, this elimination is not retroactive, okay? It's not retroactive. So if you already have a application in process, okay, then it's not retroactive. So the new applications, yes, it'll move forward. But for the old ones, no, it's not retroactive. Okay. Remaining in place, restrictions on businesses with 20% or more ownership by someone who has an arrest or conviction for a felony fraud related to financial assistance fraud within the past 5 years. Okay. So for those of you that cheated on your FAF, for college, still in place. Is currently incarcerated for a felony at the time of application. So those two still remain in place, okay? Those two restrictions still remain in place. All right, next slide, please. All right, non-citizen owners. Now, they say this is changes to support increased access. All right. All lawful U.S. residents have access to PPP, okay? The big one at the bottom, I'm not worried about E-Tran. The one at the bottom is important, the I-10, right? The individual taxpayer identification number. It's issued by the IRS. It's a 9-digit. It always begins with a 9. As long as you have an I-10 number, you are good. Now, and if I recall, you don't necessarily have to be a U.S. resident, but if you have that I-10 number, then you're A-OK, all right? Now, this is where it will get through the I-Tran system, as long as you have that I-10 number, okay? So that's important. It's very important that you have that number.
So to clarify, a lot of people say, well, what about if I don't have a ITIN number, or if I do business with my own social security number? Well, that's okay. It's still a issue, IRS, social security, or ITIN, or tax ID number. So that's okay. Another question they asked there, Rod, and I don't know if you want to answer this, is when is the last day I have to apply for the PPP forgiveness or to submit the form? We probably want to cover that later on, but I just want to be mindful of this question just coming in.
All right, so if you're PPP 1, then it's really, as you know, PPP 1, you have until March 31st. Yes, because whether you chose the 8-week or the 24-week, right, after June 5th, 2020, after the PPP Flexibility Act. All right, so that 24 weeks is now over. So now you have until the 31st of March for PPP 1.0, okay? And notice I'm making a distinction, PPP 1.0. All right, so you have until March 31st for that. So you should start getting those in. But since we're on that, let me go over the forms. So there's the 3 forms. There's the 3508S. So that's the form for loans of $150,000 and below. The actual application is a 1 2-page application, all right? And pages 2 and 3 are just instructions on how to fill out the actual application. But I'm telling you, if it takes you more than 15 minutes, something's wrong. Because as long as you have your documentation handy, then it's really a breeze. It's really an easy form to complete. All right, then there's the next form, the 3508EZ form, $150,001 up to a $2 million loan. That's the 3508EZ form. Then if you have a loan of $2 million and up to $10 million, right, under the PPP 1.0, then you use the regular 3508. I call it the 3508 long form. But remember what I said, sba.gov/PPP. All of those forms can be found using that URL, okay? So again, if you need help, you have all of the resource partners out there that can assist you with this for free. All right, next slide, please. Now, Anna, are you guys going to provide the presentation on your website, the whole presentation? Because I think it would be good if you do, because there's some good information in here as we go through. You're going to see calculations and everything.
Yeah, we're going to have it in our website. We also stream it on YouTube and Facebook. So there's 3 ways of having this presentation available after your presentation here.
Okay, great, great. All right. So here's what I was talking about, the revised loan amount calculation for the Schedule C, okay? So
I want you, sorry to interrupt, Rod. I want you guys to really pay attention to this, because this is what makes it different of your loan getting decision in 3 days versus 3 weeks. Please understand that unless we have this calculation and you understand what you send in the bank, then we had to ask for different and more documentation to prove what you saying, what you asking for.
All right. So you may recall, I'm going to do a little review. So you may recall with the Schedule C, and that's if you're a 1099, right? A single member LLC or a sole proprietorship. Under the old calculation, we were using line 31, which was the net profit number. So you had to have a net profit, because if you had a loss, then you weren't going to get any PPP money because there's nothing to divide and multiply. All right, so we used line 31. You divided that by 12 times 2.5, and that was your loan amount, okay? Now, the new calculation, okay, and I'm doing a short and easy version for you, because I think the way I'm explaining it is probably easier. So now you would look at line 7 on the Schedule C. Now, the verbiage I'm about to use is very important, very, very important, because people get line 7 on the Schedule C confused with line 1 on the Schedule C. So let me tell you the difference. Line 1 on the Schedule C is for your gross sales or revenues, okay? It's not gross income that's on line 7 of your Schedule C. So I'm going to try to do this from memory of the Schedule C, all right? So line 1, you have your gross sales, okay, or gross revenue, okay, or gross receipts. Those are the 3 terms that you'll see on line 1 on your Schedule C. Line 2, okay, you're going to see, your cost of goods sold, okay? Your cost of goods sold if you have cost of goods sold. Line 3, so if you subtract cost of goods sold from what? Your gross sales, then you're going to have your gross profit, okay? Oh, excuse me. Line 2 is sales returns and allowances. Line 3, gross profit. Okay, cost of goods sold, then your gross profit. Then you have any other income. And then line 7 is your gross income. So it's gross income after all those calculations. Now, it's gross income divided by 12 times 2.5. Now, folks, your line 7 should never be a negative number, okay? That's why they changed the formula from line 31 to line 7. The gross income should never be a negative number. There's a problem if line 7 is a negative number, okay? So again, it's now line 7 divided by 12 times 2.5. That's the new calculation. So therefore, the majority of you should be able to now get a PPP loan, okay? So that's the calculation. Now at the bottom here, it gives you all the SBA forms for the 2483C, which I mentioned earlier, the 2483SD, which is the second draw, okay? But remember, all of these forms are where? SBA.gov/PPP, all right? So you don't have to memorize all of this stuff. Just know it's SBA.gov PPP is where you go to get these forms. Now the next slide, please. All right, now partners and partnerships, and this is important because I get a lot of questions about this one. Partners and partnerships are not included in the revisions, okay? They're not. Now, of course, we just went over the formula. So remember, LLCs that file a Schedule C are included. Now, joint ventures, and it's joint ventures defined by the IRS are included, okay? So let's go over that. The only members are a married couple who file a joint return. Both spouses materially participate in the business. Both spouses elect not to be treated as a partnership. Other limitations apply. See the IRS definition for the full details. But honestly, these top 3 bullets are the main ones, okay? So joint ventures as defined by the IRS are included in the new formula. All right, next slide, please. All right, so now you see, now this is the application itself. So you can see that it's really not that difficult for you to fill out. So look at where it says line B, okay? You're gonna divide, well, let's go to A. So you're gonna take your gross income, which is on line 7, and it walks you through it. You divide it by 12, okay? And then you multiply it, as you see in the next cell, by 2.5 times. Real easy. So really, before you guys go to Anna, you will pretty much know what your loan amount's going to be because you have a guide that actually shows you, okay? You know the formula is gross income, line 7, divided by 12 times 2.5. And you're just filling in the blocks, okay? It's that easy. It really is that easy. All right, next slide, please. All right, so understanding the process. Go ahead to the next one. All right, if you've never received a PPP loan, then you can apply for the first loan per the original rules. What's the question? Well, what were the original rules? Well, you can get up to a $10 million loan, okay? Secondly, with that $10 million loan, you can have 500 or fewer employees versus under PPP 2.0, it's capped at a $2 million loan or 300 or less employees, okay? And you have the 24-week, you still have the 24 weeks or what I call a long runway to use the money. Now, if you were originally denied a PPP loan, but now meet the new criteria, just go to Anna and reapply, okay, for the first round. Just go to her and reapply if you got turned down for the first PPP because we were using line 31 instead of line 7, right? Net profit versus now gross income, all right? So go back to Anna and she can now process your first PPP loan. All right, next slide, please. All righty, so who's still eligible? Sole proprietors, independent contractors, okay, and single member LLCs, 501c3s, 501c19 veteran organizations, title businesses. Who's newly eligible? Chambers of commerce, eligible news organizations, housing cooperatives, and destination marketing organizations. The chambers are really happy about this because the chambers for a while were taking it on the chin. So now chambers are eligible under PPP 2.0. All right, next slide, please. All right, so I talked about the 24-week. Honestly, I don't know why anyone would take an 8-week covered period. I just don't. It's just take the 24 weeks after the money's been dispersed to you. You can request an increase to your original PPP loan amount. But as usual, you must have been in business by February 15th, 2020. Now, it says you must apply on or before March 31st, but it's actually now June 30th and not March 31st. And again, that June 30th date is as of 2 days ago. Okay, so I'll need to update this. All right, next slide, please. So why consider PPP 2.0? Now, here's the thing. With PPP 2.0, you're going to have to show a 25% reduction in gross receipts. Remember when I was going through that formula? Gross receipts is line 1 on the Schedule C, okay? So let's look at it this way. You're going to compare March 31st, 2019 with March 31st, 2020. Or you can take September 30, 2019 and compare it to September 30, 2020. But it must show a 25% reduction in gross receipts or gross sales or gross revenues, whichever nomenclature you want to use, okay? But it must show a 25% reduction. Here's something that people are missing. If you are a 51% owner in that company or more, then you must sign the income statement that you are giving to the bank. So whether it comes out of QuickBooks, whether it's CPA compilation, whether it's a CPA reviewed statement, you must sign and date that income statement to attest to the veracity of the numbers that you are sending to the bank to process, okay, your PPP 2.0. If it's not signed, and it's going to kick it back to you, okay? All right, as I said before, the maximum loan amount for the PPP 2.0 is up to $2 million. And you're going to use the monthly average of either 2019 or the 2020 payroll cost, whichever is higher, okay? Now, what that subtly says is for you, those of you that keep getting extensions on your tax returns, cut it out. I've already talked to borrowers that already have their 2020 business tax returns done and sent in to the IRS, okay? It's to your advantage to do that because if your average monthly payroll was higher in 2020 versus 2019, what that means is your loan amount is going to be higher for that PPP 2.0. So it's in your best interest to run out and get that 2020 tax return done. And for yes, it's the 1040 with the Schedule C, okay? So it's to your best advantage to get that done. For borrowers in what I call the restaurant business and hotel business that has a NAICS code of 72, instead of the 2.5 monthly average, it's the 3.5 times, okay? So it's going to take that number divided by 12 times 3.5 times. All right, it sounds like I got a question coming. No? Okay.
There is a lot of questions. There is somebody say, okay, so I've been in business for 2 years and I incorporated my company in February 2020. Do I qualify?
As long as it was before February 15th.
You're good to go. Go ahead and apply.
Yes.
The other question is, let's see here. So for PPP2, the loss you have shown is for one, so sorry, this keeps jumping up. For 1 year, or is it during any quarter? Just a quarter.
Yeah, just a quarter.
2019 versus 2020. Whatever quarter you choose from second to fourth quarter, choose one. And that's what you need to present to the bank, to me.
Yes. Now, let me say this, because I've been getting questions. Well, what if it's 24.6 or 24.7? We're not in math class. We're not rounding up. It has to be 25% or greater. Okay? I just want to make that clear.
Our system, actually, at M&T Bank, will reject the application because it will do the calculation automatically, and it will reject it. So it won't even put you through the apply and see if I qualify. It just won't even take the application.
Good. Good. Glad to know that. All right, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so here's the rule before PPP 2.0. Remember, you have to use all of the PPP 1.0 before you can eligible for PPP 2.0, okay? So do we remember what those eligible expenses are? So remember the program, 60% payroll, 40% business expenses. All right, what are those business expenses? Gas, water, electric, interest on a commercial mortgage, business landline phone, business cell phone, business internet, okay? Those are the expenses that for the first draw, okay, that you can use. Now, if you've had trouble getting rid of your PPP 1.0, then bonus, call it hazard pay, a hazard pay bonus to your employees. That's what you do. Now, let's make sure that we're fair to everybody. So don't give one employee $250 and another one $750 as a bonus. Everybody gets a $750 bonus, or it's $1,000 bonus, whatever that number is, so that you can use up the funds. But it's going to be fair to everyone, all right? And oh, by the way, business owner, no, you're not bonusing yourself anything. This is for the employees, okay, so that you can use up your first draw to be able to then get the second draw. Also, some banks may want you to go ahead and apply for forgiveness before they give you the second draw. That is not in the legislation at all. So just tell those bankers, you do not have to apply for forgiveness from the first draw in order to get the second draw. The law says that all you need to do is use up all of the PPP 1.0. Remember, you can't have any more than 300 employees. And again, you have to show the 25% reduction in gross receipts. Okay. All right. Next slide, please.
So a couple of questions here. Can S corporation be eligible? Yes, all corporations can be eligible. Every single company can be eligible as long as it's established and registered.
All right. So let me go a little granular. All right. So some of you, if you have an S corp, you're on your payroll, right? So then you would use your 941. Some of you may not be. You get a K1. So then we would use the K1, okay? And apply the same formula, that number on the K1 divided by 12 times 2.5. So just keep that in mind, okay? As the
and Rod, what line on the K1 are they using?
Oh gosh, the net, what is it? The net, I think it's the net profit number. I think that's what it says.
Right,
yeah,
it is for the K1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What about if I don't file quarterly taxes? If you do your profits and loss statement and your balance sheet quarterly, what you should be doing if you're a business owner, that's what you need to know if you have a quarter deduction. Where if you can do monthly or you can do a quarterly, however you do that, you need that to submit those documents to the bank.
All right, next slide, please. Should be line like slide 21, maybe. Yeah, the forgiveness. There we go. All right, so we've actually talked about this form, okay, where it's 150,000 and under, okay. Understand that idle advances are now no longer deducted from the PPP loan forgiveness. And expenses paid with PPP loan funds are federally tax deductible. Now you can talk to your CPA. You don't need to contact the IRS. You can talk to your CPA about that. But here's what's more important. The loan that's converted to a grant is not federally taxed. Now, that doesn't mean that the state of Maryland, the Commonwealth of Virginia, or DC won't tax it. It just means that it's not federally taxable, okay? And you're gonna need to talk to your CPA about that. All right, next slide, please. So, slide 23. All right, so remember 60%, 40% is how you were supposed to use that money. We went over the expenses. Now, here's what happens. You submit it to the bank. The bank has 60 days to review it. They make a decision. They pass it on to the SBA. The SBA has 90 days to make a decision, okay? They will relay that decision back to your banker, and then your banker will tell you whether or not your loan is 100% forgiven, 10%, 9%. And oh, by the way, if you wind up having a loan, remember the loan is at 1%, and it can be over a 2-year period or a 5-year period, depending on when you got the loan, okay? Remember, there are no personal guarantees, there's no collateral, all right? And again, the loan is at 1%, okay? So now, don't call your bank and don't call me at the SBA asking, in month 2, where are we in process? All right, because it's a 5-month process. Sometimes it's shorter, okay? Because everybody hasn't all at once been throwing in their forgiveness applications. It hasn't necessarily been 5 months, but remember, it can take up to 5 months to get your final decision on the forgiveness, okay? So just keep in mind.
If you apply with M&T Bank and you are 100% forgive, you will receive a letter from our head of business bank and RFL's team from Buffalo, New York, with a congratulation email. Not necessarily from me. My name will be on your letter, or your banker, whoever your banker is, but it will be directly from the head of business banking.
Okay, good. All right, next slide, please. Well, we've already talked about the forms, right? The 3508S, the 3508EZ, and the regular 3508. And again, sba.gov/PPP. The key is to have all of your documentation. Make sure that you have all documentation. That's what's going to get you fully forgiven. And make sure that you have used the money in accordance to the program. People are saying, well, you know what? I used the money to go out and actually buy a new car for the business. That's not what it's supposed to be used for. I went out and bought an office condo over in Greenbelt. No, that's not what the money is supposed to be used for. Remember, stay within, or as I say, color within the lines of what the money was supposed to be used for. Otherwise, it could be looked at as a fraudulent activity if you've used the money outside of the program, and people are getting prosecuted, okay? So I don't want to read about you in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, or the Washington Business Journal. Let's make sure we stay within that 60-40 guidelines for using the fund so that we can get 100% forgiven. All right, next slide, please. All right, other quick updates. The idle, okay. The idle is a loan, okay? It's a loan. It's 30 years at 3.75% or 2.75% for nonprofits. If it's over 25,000, the SBA will take a blanket lien on the assets of the organization, and you don't have to make a payment for 12 months. The interest is accruing within the 12 months. Now, most of the idle money is being directed to low and moderate income areas. And so the SBA will actually contact you. You do not contact the SBA. They'll contact you, okay? So just keep that in mind. So existing idle loans, if you received an idle advance grant in 2020, this amount is no longer deducted from the PPP. You cannot apply for a second idle loan. However, if you would like to request an increase to the amount, send it to, it should be, yeah, there it is, pdrecons@sba.gov with the word increase. And in the email, the business name, borrower's name, EIN, the idle application number, and your signed IRS 4506T. Now, if that IRS 4506T is not a part of the email, it is not complete. And so what you want to do is put in the 2020, the 2019, and the 2018 tax returns. So strong hint to those of you that are procrastinators about 2020, get those 2020 filed, okay? Because that's the reason we're asking for the 4506T, because we want to see that those tax returns are filed, all right? Also attach a copy of the hazard insurance, better known as general liability insurance. If you need general liability insurance, you call me, I'll make sure that you get it, okay? And then there should be your corporate resolution. Your corporate resolution tells us who can sign on behalf of your company to get the company in debt. So those are the things that you have to include in that email if you're asking for an increase for idle. Again, don't call me. You have the email address there for the increase if you need one in the idle. And remember, it only goes up to $150,000, okay? Just 150. Next slide, please.
The other thing is, please understand that the bank, your bank, have nothing to do with this loan. So I get a lot of email, a lot of questions. We are not participating on this. Is straight from the SBA.
All right, now, the advance. You have to show a reduction of 30% or more in revenue. Unlike PPP, you have to show a reduction of 30% or more in revenue beginning March 2nd, well, last year, 2020, okay? Now, here's the priority. Businesses and nonprofits that received a previous idle advance in an amount less than $10,000. So those people are going to be contacted first. Remember, you don't contact the SBA, they will contact you. And then 2, businesses and nonprofits that applied for idle before December 27th of last year, but didn't receive it because we ran out of money, you'll be contacted and you'll get the $10,000. Look what it says. The SBA will contact you via email, and they've already started doing that, okay? So there's nothing that you need to do. The SBA will contact you, and as Anna said, it has nothing to do with your bank. All right, next slide, please.
I have a few questions here. I applied for the EIDL loan last year. My S corporation would decline because I have filed a Chapter 13 that I've been paying for months, even though the pandemic. What should I do?
Well, if they declined you, that's it.
The other question,
because you're in a Chapter 13. Understand, you're in a Chapter 13.
the other question is, if we've received the loan that has been used on payroll, but there was no loss in the business last year, one is advised to return to money or apply for forgiven loan. So to better understand the question, we applied for the PPP for payroll. We didn't have any loss for the business. I guess they didn't use the money. So should they return the money or apply for forgiveness? I don't understand.
There's nothing to forgive, right? Because you didn't use the money. So if you didn't use the money, there's nothing to forgive, and just give it back. Uh-oh, I think we lost the presentation. All right, is there another question? No other question? No? All right, so before, I was going to say, there we go. All right, so for your idle questions, you have your the email address, disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. You have the 800 number. Now, with all these URLs, okay, particularly the one on the left, just remember, sba.gov/PPP. There are your partner resources right there, the Women Business Center, SCORE, everybody, there's those.
We lost Rod? So everyone, I think we lost Rod. So we're going to share this presentation on the Chamber website. I encourage everyone to find more information how to become a member, because just like this presentation, we have many and different topics. We can also take under consideration what topic you want to discuss as a member for the Chamber of Commerce, right? So you have partners that can help you, that can guide you, can help your business grow, help your business get out of trouble. So please, I would encourage you guys to follow up with the Chamber of Commerce, send email, contact me, you have my information, and let's just get this, all of this information out. The page that you were seeing before that, it's the M&T. It's closing the quarter on March 15th, so be cautious of that. If you need to apply for a PPP loan with M&T Bank, you do need to open an account. You do need to go and establish your online banking. We're not asking you to make a deposit. We're asking you to open an account. And probably the question is, can I apply online? I wouldn't recommend that. The process is too long. If you go to a branch, or if you contact me, I can put you in touch with a branch manager, and they can open the account for you virtually, as long as we have all that information. Then you can sign up your online banking, and then we immediately invite you to apply for the PPP there. So the process is very easy. Then I'll get your application and I'll process it. The great thing is that if we receive your application March 15 by 9 p.m., we will process your application. There's still money. We just need to process the massive amount of application that we have in our portal already as a bank. So I'm not sure if Marco, Maria, Giovanni, Jose wants to add anything. If there's a lot of questions, we're gonna gather your questions and probably post it to our website, just to be conscious of the time. And of course, we always here to support.
Yes, Ana, gracias. This is Maria Pilar Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Please visit our website. There's so much more information coming this month. We still have some events, March 18, March 25th. We have our members networking event. We would love for you to be part of our chamber so that we can be able to help you grow your business and be your connection into the community, into the different government entities. Again, thank you for showing up. I thank Jose, Marco that was here, and Giovanni and Ana, which are part of our board. And we would love to see you be a member, and I'll see you at the next event. we will get back to your questions, so you can keep writing them on the chat, or you can contact me at the info@mdhcc.org, which I've inputted that address on the chat. And I don't think if anyone has anything else to say from the chamber. Otherwise, we want to be respectful of your time. We ran a little late on this ending, so thank you again for attending. And to all the women on board, we want to recognize you and say International Women's Day, which was March 8th. We're recognizing all our women and CEOs, and clap to all those, my powerful ladies, my gladiators. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you at the next event. Also,
I want to add really quick before you leave, this video is available on our Facebook and YouTube channels from the Chamber, the Maryland Hispanic Chamber. You just find us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be able to find the entire presentation. Thank you.
Guys, this presentation is amazing to share with colleagues of yours, friends, business owner like you, to make sure that they have the same information that we share with you today. Thank you, everyone, and have an amazing day.
Gracias.